Hello, and tonight my partner and I will be talking about GMOs. And our resolve is that the state of California should require labels on foods that have been genetically modified. Now, a little bit of background on GMOs. Genetically modified foods are foods that are derived from organisms whose genetic material, DNA, has been modified in a way that does not occur naturally, and through the introduction of genes from different organisms. Now, my significance claim is by not labeling GMOs, we raise multiple problems. Now, according to the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, they urge doctors to prescribe non-GMO diets for all patients. Numerous health problems increased after GMOs were introduced in 1996, and the percentage of Americans with chronic illnesses has jumped from 7% to 13% in just 9 years alone. Food allergies have skyrocketed, and disorders such as autism, digestive problems, and others have arisen. Now, subsection B, GMOs produce negative side effects. Now, according to the Institute of Responsible Technology website, a mixing of genes from totally unrelated species, genetic engineering has unleashed a host of unpredictable side effects. These GM plants can result in massive collateral damage that produce new toxins, allergens, carcinogens, and nutritional deficiencies. According to the same website, an example is that mice were fed potatoes with an added bacterial gene, which produced an intense site called Bt toxin. Scientists analyzed the lower part of their small intestines and found abnormal or damaged cells as well as proliferative soda. Subsection C. GMOs led to increased herbicide use, and this led to health problems. According to the same website, between the years 1996 and 2008, U.S. farmers sprayed an extra 383 million pounds of herbicides on GMOs. Overuse of the herbicides make these weeds resistant to herbicides, and this causes farmers to use even more toxic herbicides every year. And not only does this create an environmental problem, but it also causes these GM crops to have more residue, more toxic herbicide residue. This increased amount of herbicide is linked to sterility, hormone disruption, birth defect, and cancer. Now that I've discussed my significance claims, I'm going to be discussing my inherency claims, which is there is no current specific policy in place for GMO labeling. Subsection A, no current policies are in place because the government has no concern for negative factors that revolve around GMOs. According to the Responsible Technology website, most of the health and environmental risk of GMOs are ignored by the government's superficial regulations and safety assessments, which are all conducted internally from companies. This reason is pretty much political, and their justification is that there's no information showing that GMs were substantially different, which does cause a problem because that just leaves us in the dark. Now, subsection B, the current policies in place by the government don't specifically target GMOs. According to the GPO website, the USDA only regulates meat, poultry, eggs, and organic products. And the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has an act in place, National Uniform Nutritional Labeling, which prohibits the labels that may be false or misleading. This doesn't necessarily apply for GMOs, so this just means that there's not really any policies in place for GMOs regulation. Subsection C, despite there being no current policy in place, there is a large amount of people that want there to be. According to the Library of Congress website, polls indicate that strong support for labeling of GMO foods, that there is a large support for labeling of GMO foods. One recent poll found that 93% of its respondents support mandatory labeling. The same poll found that 3/4 of Americans expressed concern regarding GMOs in food, and nearly half indicate that they are aware that many processed or packaged foods contain genetically modified ingredients. And around half said that they would not eat genetically modified vegetables, fruits, grains, and 3/4 stated that they would not eat genetically modified fish, and 2/3 said that they would not eat genetically modified meat. Now, my third point, my solvency point, is by having policies in place, people will be more aware about what they eat. Now, this could be for many reasons. One being for religious and ethical reasons. Americans may want to know what they're eating to be able to avoid certain products that are introduced by GM methods. Now, according to the CNN website, there are many religions out there that do have a lot of dietary restrictions. One being resto-vegetarianism, which one of the things that they can be are chemically modified foods, which shows that there is a population out there that are not able to eat these types of foods. Now, subsection B, it will not cost additional money for companies to add these labels. According to the Label GMO organization website, there was a policy that was on the ballot initially, which was known as the California Right to Know Genetically Engineered Food Act, and it was stated in the policy itself that it would not cost the consumer or the food producer more money, since the companies already change their labels all the time. Now, according to the Alliance of Natural Health website, one person did a study recently, Shepherd Lady, and they found that a one-time average per product cost of manufacturers of redesigning all food labels is about $1,104, which represents about 0.03% of the annual per product sales, and that the one-time average per cost place cards disclosing genetic engineering will be about $2,820, which is about 0.1% of the annual sales in the average supermarket. Now, in the worst case scenario, even if all these costs were passed on to the consumers, this translates to about a mere $1.27 one-time cost for annual food expenditures in the average household in California. And this is an overestimate since not all products in supermarkets require this GE labeling. Subsection C. There are already other countries that have implemented policies on GMOs. According to the MIC website, 64 nations have enforced the consumer's right to know law on GMO foods, while the United States has little regulatory framework surrounding genetically modified food products. As of 2013, the 64 nations that regard food labeling as a consumer, there are 64 nations that regard food labeling as a consumer priority. Now, according to the PCC Natural Market website, countries have teamed together to adopt GE labeling laws across the borders to improve access to foreign markets. And between the last version, and 24 additional countries have passed mandatory labeling laws, and this just means that it'd be a lot more easier for countries to have this access to foreign markets. And that's my